Good evening, welcome. It's the Warped Ones here again. And today we're doing something new and different. We're looking at a unit. We've decided that we've got a lot of armies between us.
Just
And we've
you.
just. Yeah, and we've decided that we are going to have a look at some of the cool units which we use in our games, which we'd like to share with you and to share some of our ideas and things because here on the Warp Ones, we're not exactly looking at what's meta, what is the best, and what's going to win you the games. We're interested in the cool.
How dare you? Lee brings loads of D cannons,
That is true. He does
and he
chase that
plays
meta
Emperor.
hard. His poor little legs ache because he just chases that meta. He never
My
catches it, mind.
parents is four. Now after they changed a bit, it's like
Poor little guy. Yeah.
how
So
many three big wraiths are not the meta anymore. So I got two for sale now.
well, there we go.
You think?
So yeah, so
Laugh.
so we're here to look at different units which we want to share, and today we have decided to go for one of mine. We are looking at the man himself. Over here, it is Rotty Too Hotty himself, Rotigus. What an awesome model! I actually played with him yesterday. I did a full Nurgle army against Votan and was very successful. And he was once again a standout part of the army. So I thought actually it'd be really interesting. I don't see very many people running Nurgle on their own. Obviously, Chaos Demons are really good. And it's just looking at how we can play him if you're interested in that as a model. And he's looking really cool. So first of all, most importantly, Sean, did you want to tell us a little bit about the lore behind
Lord
this awesome
Rotigus.
demon?
Yeah, the Rainfather himself. He's a great unclean one. He's known as the epitome of Nurgle's generosity and fecundity, and he's called the Rainfather because he manifests Nurgle's deluge, a disease storm that eternally hovers over him, drenching him to his innermost folds as they wobble with thunderous laughter. He's a happy, jolly soul. He is a happy, jolly soul. Look at him. He's even got a big smiley mouth in his stomach.
He's that happy.
I mean, he loves his work. He is a man that enjoys what he does. Well, I say man, thing, demon, whatever he is, he likes it.
We'll
He's
accept
happy.
him. Yeah, we'll accept him for who he is. It's fine.
Yeah, and for a bit of lore examples, when some Tau Hydra tech broke, the Earthcast farmers, so desperate for rain they ignored protocol, they gave into the superstitions of the primitive tribes from whom they had usurped their planet. When the downpour first came, it was welcome, but soon enough, the entire planet became a fetid swamp, rife with plague.
So he did his job too good.
He does his job too good.
Mm.
That is exactly what it is. Rotty's so good at his job, he does it too good.
Yes.
Yeah, he's got a foul, super brackish plague water that he can spew, and it is one of the most acidic biles of the galaxy. Can melt through ceramite and cause ferrocrete to rot and crumble. That means Space Marines are not going to like that very much. Because of this, because he's so happy, because he's got all this and he's got the deluge of Nurgle, he doesn't need to carry a weapon. He's that full of himself. He's like, bitch, please, I don't need it. So he carries a gnarl rod, a branch from a hornbeam tree. And hornbeam trees are Nurgle's favourite. They're in constant cycle. They begin as a seed, they sprout, they grow to maturity, they then sicken with disease, they die, and they begin again. It's Nurgle.
And Nurgle. So
Yeah.
much fun. So much fun.
Beautiful.
Awesome, and because he's basically the Rainfather, isn't he? Is what Nurgle he's Rotigus the Rainfather. He brings, like you said, a deluge of sickness and stuff like that, and I think it's an awesome, cool thing. Here I am, my model currently painting up in the background. It's such a awesome model. So take a look as I go around. It just has so much character. Obviously based on the Great Unclean one. So you get the Great Unclean One kit, and you can make this one.
Head, slightly different arm, and a slightly different stomach.
Yeah, his little belly in here is something you don't want to poke. But yeah, so like I said, almost there with him. But just so much cool detail for you to pick out, so much fun to paint. And like I said, this guy was awesome yesterday against the Votan. Soaked up an awful lot of damage, and we'll talk in a second about what he can do on the table. Because actually, I think that in a Nurgle list, I love him. Just in a Chaos Demon list, I still think I would be interested in taking him for what he does. So let's have a little look, shall we? About that. Oh, Sean went. Was that? You're not sure?
Oh, we'll discuss it. We'll discuss.
Okay, and this is the thing. Everyone's got their own opinions, which we love to see. And I'm a fan. Let's see if these two will be a fan at the end of it. And also, obviously, let us know in the comments whether you're a fan of the Rainfather himself. So let's take a look. First of all, at his basic stats, because he's got some really nice stuff going on. So Rotigus is movement 7. He's got a toughness of 12, so really high toughness, really nice. He's got a save of a 5 up. We don't talk about that, but he does have a 4 up in Vun. Now, that's the thing, which he's got his high toughness, but there's lots of armies which can circumvent that and get around the high toughness. And actually, a 4 up in Vun basically means he's only saving half the time, which he's tough, but he's not as tough as you think.
No.
You know what I mean? And so I would say, for example, the Great Unclean One yesterday against Votan, the Great Unclean One is the same stats, but has 20 wounds. And also, I gave him he had a 4 up, feel no pain on top of that, but he still went down in one turn of shooting from the whole army. I mean, I did just stick him on objective, and he did what he needed to do. But it just shows that actually they can be whittled down. It's not something which will just tank everything. He's got a leadership of 6+, and an OC of 5. 22 wounds for Rotigus, a bit higher than the Great Unclean One. So you know, a good stat line for I think for that. So what do you think, boys, for the stat line?
I thought it's kind of like a knight version, isn't it? Same sort of stats as like a knight.
Same kind of stats as a knight. Not quite as good a save though. It's the save that lets him down. If he had a normal save that most characters have of 2 up with a 4 up in Vun, then you would sit there and go, well, that's ridiculous.
I'd kill for a 2 up save.
Yeah. The fact that he's only got a 4 up invulnerable save,
Yeah.
you're never going to take it on a 5 unless there's something that ignores invuns, which I don't think there is in 10th.
Yeah.
Then
Suns.
Oh yeah, Thousand Suns can ignore save. So then you save it on 5s, and you're like, well, that's some sort of damage reduction would be quite good. But I mean, for what it is, it's a demon, and demons have demon saves.
Yeah, it's got the invuln, yeah, and so he's 260 points. So we'll come back to that at the end. But interesting to keep in mind the points cost as we go through. 260 points, not hugely expensive compared to say a knight or something like that, which can be in the 400s. So let's have a look and see what else he's got. So oh, go on, Sean. What was that?
I was going to say, knights are in the 400s, can be in the 600s.
Exactly. So you might be getting a good deal after all. Okay, so what's he bringing to the table regarding his attacks? Because Nurgle, like I said, after playing a whole Nurgle army yesterday, not known for their damage output really, but he's not too bad. So for his ranged weapon, he's got 1 ranged weapon: streams of brackish filth. As we heard,
vomit on you.
Yes, as we heard from the lore, he loves to vomit and puke. So it's only a 12-inch range, but it is a torrent weapon which ignores cover. So it's basically doing 2d6 attacks. So a bit random, but can go in your favor. It's got no ballistic skill because obviously it auto hits. Strength 7, AP -2, damage 1. The damage 1 just makes it go. It's got dev wounds, so if you do manage to roll a 6 when you're rolling to wound, then it does go straight through. But it's not going to do too much. Because you basically say you're going against Space Marines, basic Space Marines, you're still wounding on 3s, and at the end of it, you're only doing 1 damage if it goes through.
Yep.
So it's a tickle. It's a tickle. You can tickle off some wounds off something.
It is.
Tickling with his rod.
I'd rather see AP 1 damage 2.
Yeah,
exactly. But
AP 1 damage 2, I think, would be better.
But it does the job. It does the job. As we'll talk about Yeah, and as we'll talk about, actually, his role probably isn't there to go and kill things. You know, that's not his primary role. So let's have a look and see. So melee weapons. So once we get him into melee, so he's got his gnarl rod, as we've heard, and he's got a choice of two. So the gnarl rod strike. 7 attacks at weapon skill 2, strength 8, -3, D3 damage. Lovely, quite nice.
Yeah.
And lethal hits and psychic. So Nurgle, all the Nurgle really are having lethal hits on their weapons. Or if you want to, you can sweep with your gnarl rod, doing 14 attacks, weapon skill 2, strength 7, AP -1, and damage 1. Once again, lethal hits. You know, actually, I find him to be more consistent with his output than a great unclean one most of the time. So I do
that's
like.
a good balance between depending on what you're going into.
Yeah.
Space Marines, you know, 7 attacks at strength 8, hitting on 2s, wounding on 2s. AP3 is saving on 6s, and
I mean, even Terminators.
66% of the time you're going to be killing 1 per hit at D3 damage. But then if you're going into, say, I don't know, Gene Stealer Acolytes or something, 1 wound, toughness 3, you know, hitting on 2s, wounding on 2s.
Yeah.
AP1's going to get you a 4 or 5 up save.
Yeah,
pretty good.
Nice.
Yeah.
And just to say that if you're damaged, if you've got 1 to 7 wounds remaining, then that does become that you're hitting on 3s.
Yes.
So
Bracket.
not too bad. Not too bad as he degrades. So I think a fairly half decent stat line for his price and what he does. So if we now move over to his abilities, I think this is where actually we start to see what Rotigus is doing and why I like him so much on the tabletop. So he's got the normal abilities which come with the demons. So the core, he's got deadly demise, so he does have a chance of exploding at d6. And most importantly, like all demons, he's got deep strike, which makes him incredibly useful. A 260 point, but a toughness 12, 22 wound thing, which deep strike is very tasty indeed. It's got the Shadow of Chaos ability, which we'll come back to in a second because there are some little shenanigans you can pull off with that. But basically, the idea is that if he goes below half wounds and he starts rolling battle shock, then you have a chance of healing D3 if he passes his leadership 6+, and things like that. So you know, just little minor things like that. But he can actually then turn up 6 inches away, which we'll talk about in a sec. Now his data sheet abilities, I really like. Virulent Blessing, a psychic one. At the start of the fight phase, you can select 1 enemy unit within 18 inches. Until the end of the phase, each time an attack is made by a Nurgle demon model, it's basically which attacks that unit. You add 1 to the damage characteristics of that attack. So that means that actually, if you're putting him in and he's choosing what he's going into, if we head back for a second, you know, suddenly that gnarl rod actually is doing 4 damage. Because it's not D3, it's 3 damage a hit, and so this is doing 4 damage a hit. His gnarl rod sweep of 14 attacks at strength.
It's adding 1 to the damage, so it'd be D3 + 1.
Yeah.
I know that. But what I'm saying to you is that it's not D3 damage; it's damage 3.
How?
What do you mean how?
It's D3 damage, and then you're plussing 1.
It's
That's
damage.
D3 + 1.
It's green. It's green on there, but it's damage 3. I've highlighted the 3. The 3 should be white on that screen.
It's a flat 3 damage.
It's flat 3 damage.
Oh, sorry. Before it's for D3 damage.
No, the strike is flat 3 damage.
Oh.
Because you're trying to look small. Don't worry about it. It's fine. Yeah, it's flat 3 damage, which means that he's on his Gnarlrod strike, he's doing flat 4 damage, and on his Gnarlrod
so
sweep.
that says what I said about that a minute ago. Completely wrong.
Yeah.
He's not killing Space Marine 66 times. He's killing everything.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. See, we take it back. Job done.
He's better than I thought it was D3 damage.
Yeah, so I thought as well.
No, damage is damage 3, which is really impressive
damage
stuff.
3, so strength 8 -3 D damage 3.
Yeah.
So then that goes up to damage 4.
Damage 4. So not too bad. And when you're going into Space Marines, actually you're doing 14 attacks at strength, at hitting on 2, strength 7, AP -1, damage 2.
Damage 2.
If that's what you want to do. So that is
Yeah.
quite tasty. My fault for
And
not doing the colours properly. Sorry.
that's all right. I haven't got my glasses on. I can barely see from here anyway.
We're all getting
Um,
old. We're all getting old.
yeah.
So yeah.
But yeah.
And
So that.
and that's not just him. Actually, any model which is going into that unit is then getting +1 damage.
And this is where I did my little head shake, because you said, in a mono demons in a mono Nurgle list, this is great.
Yeah.
This is a really useful, because your plague drones or your plague bearer, whatever it is, that's gonna be really beneficial. In a kind of monster mash or a multi god, list, I don't know how much this is going to be unless you're specifically doing it with Rotigus himself.
Yeah. So my answer to that would be that you've got obviously it only affects Nurgle demons. My answer to that is that actually, if you take a step back and look at what potentially roles of each of the demon sort of groups do, I would say that Nurgle, when you look at the plague bearers, for example, they make sticky objectives. For example, plus as well, and they only have 1 damage, so they benefit by going up to 2 damage from this.
Yeah.
But also as well, they are all about. They've got OC2. They're also they're toughness 5. They've got 2 wounds and a 5-up invuln. So they are about objective control. They're about going on there and basically taking an objective, holding objective, making it sticky. So when you combine that with Rotigus and you say, actually, here we are, we've got someone who's improving their output, and as we'll see in a second, actually making sure that objective swaps, then I would say there's still an argument in Nurgle, absolutely, without question.
Oh, in Nurgle, that 100%.
But I would say in any demon list, actually, having the ability to flip objectives and hold objectives better is quite nice. But interesting how you would make a different list. So let's have a look at that. Let's have a look at this.
I would say that for that, that would be a game plan you would have if you did that. You're buying into. You're taking a unit of plague bearer, or whatever, purely for that reason. Now, if anything happens to those plague bearers, that's that whole thing gone, and potentially that's 260 points, not wasted, because he's still good.
Yeah.
But that's 260 points that could be doing something else.
Yeah. So let's have a look, because it's the next objective, which actually I think is the reason I love him. Deluge of Nurgle. We know he loves a deluge. That little rainmaker loves a deluge. While an enemy unit is within 6 inches of its model, half the move and the objective control characteristics of models in that unit. So basically, he now can half objective control. I don't even care about the move, stuff the move. But he is having objective control, and to me, then that's just stunning. As we'll see in a second, we'll look at some strats and stuff which make him even better. But the idea is that he's someone who's going to turn up, deep strike in, get within 6. Half objective control, steal an objective, flip it, and then go, come and take it. Come and have a go if you're hard enough, basically. Now, to me, even as his own model, if you don't even take any other Nurgles, I love that on him, and actually the fact that he gives himself +1 damage on top of that is lovely in any list. But actually, I would say that his ability to flip an objective and to flip things is lovely, which goes. Yeah, so I think that's his role as we go. So basically, if we put all that together, what we've got, I think, is a unit which is just sort of great at putting pressure. And if you've got an opponent who's got a unit on an objective and it's only holding that, then actually he's something which can turn up and flip that objective and then make it very difficult to get it back, unless you've got some really good firepower or you're really willing to commit to taking that objective. What do you guys think at the moment then?
You're relying on, you've just got to rely on killing something to get that. It's a bit of a swingy. It's not a guarantee. So again, in a kind of across the four
A
faction,
generic.
generic demons list.
Yep.
I'm not saying that there isn't a place, because it is still definitely a good threat to have in the bag, and actually you're not losing anything by taking in a mono Nurgle list. He's an auto include,
Yeah.
absolute auto include.
He's especially in a, like I said, in a generic multi list, is very finesse, because you obviously to get the most out of him, like you said, you want him to, if he could easily be sort of screened out.
Now, if
Absolutely.
he could deep strike within 3 inches,
Oh my.
that would make him very.
Well, funny you should say that, Sean. So let's have a look and see what strats and rules which we might want to benefit. I tell you what. We are slick. We are slick. So yeah. So basically, what we've done is we've chosen some of the rules and stratagems which we thought actually people might want to have a little think about if you're choosing to play Rotigus. Now, first of all, the detachment rule. At the moment, obviously, it's the index for the Chaos Demons, but that's Warp Rift. And that detachment rule is that you can actually, as long as you're in the shadow of Chaos, and that means that you have to say, I mean, mostly you want it in your no man's land, so you want to be holding at least half of the objectives in no man's land, which, to be honest, if you're wanting to win the game, you're probably going to have to do anyway. um, so basically, absolutely, you're already lost if you're not doing that. But basically, if you've got Shadow of Chaos, it means that you can actually deep strike 6 inches away. Now, straight away, very nice. You've got Rotigus, who's more than happy to deep strike in 6 inches away, and he can then hopefully charge, unless you're the warped ones and you roll 2 ones, which is what we do often. You're going to charge onto an objective. Hit those hard. You're gonna flame them with your flamer, your streams of brackish filth. You're going to charge in, you're going to gnaw rod them right up the backside, and then you're going to half their objective control. You're going to steal that objective, you're going to stick 2 fingers up and then say, come and have a go if you think you're hard enough. Rotty Too Hotty is here to stay. That is kind of what you're going to do with that detachment roll. It just makes me feel happy. When that happens, I just think that's pretty damn good. So that's already good. Now, I put enhancements on there just to remind us that he is a named character, so we can't take enhancements on there, but actually, he's got a lot of those things which we've talked about already. I think makes him a step up from that Great Unclean One in different ways. Great Unclean One I always take with him in my Nurgle list, because you have to. I think that's pretty much the law to take Great Unclean Ones in a Nurgle mono list. I think that's how it works. Yeah, so the but then we come to the stratagems, and there's 3 stratagems I've chosen, 2 being really, really important. Now, Denizens of the Warp is amazing. As Sean's just said, leading into this, deep striking in. Basically, for 1 CP, you can deep strike 3 inches away. Now, that means that unless they have screened out an objective really well, now you can't charge after this is the only thing, but actually what's nice is that you've now got a choice. You can deep strike 3 inches away if you can, or you can, if not, deep strike 6 inches away and charge. That's a lovely, lovely choice to have, because you're still not doing too bad with that. But 3 inches away, you're going to drop in. Now, that happened to me yesterday when I was playing against the Votan. I was able to drop in 3 inches away, which meant that he got his toe onto an objective, and actually he was able to flip that objective. He killed off some of the units, which meant that there was no way they would go, unless they killed him, they weren't going to do it. The issue they had is they also had the Great Unclean One breathing down their neck at the same time. They put everything into the Great Unclean One. Well, that's fine with me, because actually you haven't dealt with Rotigus, which means that I hold this objective, and I held it for the rest of the game. Job done. I win. Thank you very much. And so that is wonderful to do. Now, so to me, being able to drop down an objective flipper 3 inches away, and also some armies, we all know that you drop down something and it flips the objective, but actually they're really easy to kill. So you flip it, you can just stop them from scoring, but actually it then disappears. Whereas Rotigus, he's not disappearing unless they actually really, really, really want him to go. Yeah, yeah, uh, absolutely. But obviously the downside is he's got a fat ass and his base is huge, which means that actually he's easy to screen out, like we've talked about. So there is an awful lot of being very careful with how you use him. But then the other stratagem which I love is the Realm of Chaos. 1 CP, you take him back into strategic reserves. Now, this is lovely because actually, once again, what I was doing yesterday was that he drops down, he flips an objective, he causes problems. I move other things on there, so I'm bringing up my plague bearers or my plague drones. These things are following up. Now I've got this objective, and he's weakened them on this side. Everything else comes up and holds it. My plague bearers are making it sticky. Now up goes Rotigus at the end of my opponent's phase, at the end of my opponent's turn, and then in my turn, down he plops again. Oh, do you know what? This time he's screaming out, but sadly, 6 inches away, I now charge. I'm on an objective again. Objective flipped. Thank you very much. And so what we've got here is a really powerful sort of piece if you use him properly. And then the other one I put on there is demonic invulnerability. Basically, you can re-roll invuln save throws of 1, which can make him hang around a little bit longer if you're trying to hit his 4-up invuln, which is quite nice. Absolutely. That fat ass gets around. So
Absolutely.
So I feel like I've gushed about him. I think I've done a deluge of
You've done
excitement.
a spewing of gushing, soppy gushiness.
Well, I think Rotigus would be happy with that. Am I saying he's perfect? No. Am I saying he hasn't got weaknesses? No. Definitely, I've in the past against some armies he's very difficult to use. If you're playing mono Nurgle, I think he's just an automatic need to take because he does something which nothing else does. And like I said, for me, when I'm thinking about a chaos army in general, especially if I'm taking the big boys and that sort of stuff, I know there's lots more killy stuff. I know that sort of stuff, but I think that as far as a tech piece of being able to do some bits and bobs, I like. And that's the thing. These gentlemen will know that the way I play my games, I like to be a little bit more rather than a blunt force trauma. I like to be a little bit more fun and shenanigans. So anything which means I can pull something a bit crazy and silly off is how I like to play.
I think as you say, mono Nurgle list is not to include. That's never going to change. In a kind of mixed list, it's all dependent on your other units that you're taking and how you want to play the game. If him as a objective flipper is good. He's not a blunt force. Damage 4 against 1 unit. 8-7 attacks damage 4 isn't bad, but realistically, a bloodthirst is better.
You were playing.
If I wanted to run 1 greater demon in a kind of combined list, would I run him over a great unclean one? Probably. For the objective flipping, great unclean ones are all right, but I think I'd probably run Rotigus as that. But he would be my objective piece rather than my killy piece.
So great unclean one, just out of interest, the great unclean one then is doing 250 points. So he's only 10 points less.
Yeah, 10 but
10 points less, a lot less killy for great unclean one, but you can put a 30-point enhancement on, which gives him a 4-up feel no pain in when you're in the shadow of the wall, which does make survivability a lot better. So when in doubt, run both of those and you'll love it.
Well, that's 510 points of pure green goodness.
Absolutely. So keep an eye out on the channel because we'll be getting. I think we've already got a couple of battle reports from ages ago actually with this guy. I think have a look and see. But we've got some coming out soon of this little guy coming into Nurgle with some good lists. And hopefully you've enjoyed our little look and in-depth thinkathon with the Rotigus himself. If you like this, this is our first time of doing this with a unit. We just thought it'd be a bit of fun and a bit of coolness. If you like it, let us know in the comments. Tell us what you think about Rotigus, whether you think it is a unit you would like to take, and what you think of it. And also then let us know if there's any other unit you'd like us to go a bit more in depth on in how we use
it. We've probably got all of them.
All the main ones, yeah.
Yeah, we really do. Yeah, and so hopefully it's good, and we always like to chat Warhammer and that sort of stuff. So yeah, thanks for joining us. We hope you enjoyed it, and come back and join the Warped Ones very soon. Don't forget to like, subscribe, do all those sorts of shenanigan things. That helps us keep going and puts a little smile on Lee's face because Lee likes to smile. All right, we'll catch you again. Thanks for joining us. Take care. See you soon.